Hello and welcome to JRF channel. In this video, I will be highlighting the most important topics from Unit 6 to Unit 10 given under the UGC NET syllabus for the law paper, which is paper 2. Please note that I have already done the analysis from Unit 1 to Unit 5, which you can check its link from the description box. So let's begin with this video. As per the syllabus uploaded by the UGC, the 6th unit is commercial law. Basically, there are 5 subjects covered under the commercial law, and you can see them in the pie chart. And just to mention, there were total 10 questions asked from the commercial law in 2021 attempt, just a previous attempt. So yes, this is the important unit for this attempt as well. Starting from the Contract Act, it is one of the basic and the simplest legislations under which, to understand the concept of essentials of contract, you have to go through from section 2 to 30 thoroughly. Right, there is no case that you can skip any of the sections given in between, right? So just to understand it, just read out section from section 2 to 30. Together with this, also try to remember the landmark judgments because there are the high chances that the cases from this portion could be asked. Second is the privity of contract and privity of consideration. So these two doctrines are also the important ones under the contract. So for that, you just try to know that what is the concept of these two doctrines and whether they are applicable in India or not, or whether they are applicable in England or not, and just also try to remember the cases that support these doctrines. Third one is the contingent contract. So for this, just try to remember the sections, right? What is the concept of contingent contract starting from section 31, okay? And there is no relevant case law present under this topic. Fourth one is the performance of contract. So there is a whole lot of chapters dedicated for the performance of contract, but in any case, you shouldn't skip from section 37 to section 39. Next one is the frustration of contract, which is section 56. It is also one of the most important section given under the Indian Contract Act, right? So there are basically 3 paras which are very important. Just go through the language and try to understand that what is the meaning of those. Also, just try to remember the case laws also given under section 56. You can also go through the illustrations attached to section 56. Next topic is quasi-contract, which is based on the concept of unjust enrichment. So what you have to do is just try to know that what is the concept of unjust enrichment and in which case this doctrine was laid down. Also, just try to remember the 5 sections given under the chapter of quasi-contract, right? Next is the consequences from breach of contract, which is given under chapter 6, covering section 73, 74 and 75. This is the also important part of Contract Act, right? Why? The reason is that because this chapter provides the remedy to the non-defaulting party to contract by way of compensation. Okay, so for this what you have to do is just have a cursory reading of the JRF Act language, right? Just read out what is section 73, 74 and 75 and how they are different from each other. Last is specific contracts, under which you are going to find 5 different types of contract, out of which the most important ones are agency and bailment. If I particularly talk about agency, you just try to cover the sections which are talking about that who are eligible to become the agent or who is eligible to become the principal, right? What are the liabilities of agent, what are the liabilities of sub-agent, and how agency could be terminated, right? Next one is the bailment. So for bailment, you just have to go through the basics of bailment, like how it is being created and what are the rights of bailer and bailee. Then comes pledge, indemnity and guarantee. So for these contracts, just try to remember the starting sections, the sections which deals with the basic nature of these contracts, right? Just try to know that what is the nature of pledge, how it is being created, why indemnity is created, why guarantee is being created, right? So that is sufficient under the Contract Act. Next is Companies Act, and let us see that what are the most expected topics. So what you may do is, you must simply read out the definition part which is given under section 2 and try to remember the subsections, especially of the terms like company, public company, private company, directors. Then we have section 3 and section 7, where section 3 talks about that how many types of companies could be formed, whereas section 7 tell you like how the company can be incorporated. Third is prospectus and private placement. So these are the modes through which company can raise its capital, right? So just try to know that how the prospectus has been defined, how many types of prospectus are there, and on the other part, it's private placement, which type of companies are eligible to raise their capital either through prospectus or either through private placement, right? All these things. Next is CSR. This is also very important part of Companies Act, and it is envisaged under Section 135. So the all clauses which is given under Section 135, right from clause 1 to clause 9, they are very much important, right? So just try to know what is CSR, right, and which companies are eligible to contribute towards CSR activities, what is the CSR amount. For the CSR activities, just go through the list given under Schedule 7. Next is Section 149. So under Section 149, you will get to know about the types of directors which could be appointed under the companies, right? Next is the meetings. Especially focus on the annual general meeting, EGM, which is extraordinary general meeting, and the class meeting. And all these type of meetings, they do come under the criteria of shareholders meeting, right? Next is the authorities. So try to know the authorities which is given under the Companies Act, right from the NCLT to the special courts. Next act that comes under Unit 6 is Sale of Goods Act. It is also one of the simple act. So under this, just try to know that how the contract is formed, what are conditions, what are warranties, and how they are different from each other. Next is the effects of contract, and especially focus on sections 18, 27, 29, and 31. And lastly, just wrap up this very act by doing rights of unpaid sale. This is also the important part. Then there comes LLP Act, right? So this very act was recently amended in year 2021, and I have already made a video on this topic, which you may check by clicking on the link given in the description box. Then there comes the definition part, right? So just try to know the concept of body corporate according to the LLP Act. Then there is a newly inserted concept known as small LLP. So this is also very important. Next, just try to know that what is the nature of LLP, then how the LLP is being created or how it is being registered, who are the partners, who are the designated partners and their relations inter se, what are the liabilities of LLP, what are the liabilities of partners, right? And then lastly is the schedules. So the schedules are basically dedicated for the conversion of LLPs, like how the LLP can be converted to the public company or private company, right? And a question from this part has been already asked. So just go through once. And for this very act, I must recommend that reading out the bare act is suffice and there is no need to go for the case laws. Then we have Negotiable Instruments Act, under which just try to know the concept of bills of exchange, promissory notes and check. Then there comes the definition of negotiable instrument given under section 13. Know the concept of endorsement as well. Next is Chapter 17, which is a penal provision with respect to dishonor of check. So right from section 138 to 148, they are very much crucial. So go through each and every section, right? And there was a recent amendment in 2018, right, according to which sections 143A and 148 with respect to the interim compensation was added. So just go through these provisions for once. Now we have Partnership Act. So for this very act, just try to know the basics of partnership, right? Like how the partnership is being created, what is the nature of partnership, what is the relationship of partners with the third parties, what are the provisions with respect to the incoming and the outgoing partners, how the partnership gets dissolved, and last one is the effect of non-registration, right? That what will be the effect of non-registering the partnership. Now we have family law. This is also one of the most important unit given under your syllabus. So starting with the first topic, just go through the sources and schools of Hindu law and Muslim law. Second is the theories and the grounds of divorce. Very important, and it do come frequently in the NET exams, right? So for the grounds of divorce, what you can do is just try to know the separate grounds available for the husband and wife and whether it is under Hindu law or Muslim law. Together with that, also try to make a note of the landmark case laws. Third is the live-in relationship case laws. Yes, this is also very important. The fourth topic is recognition of foreign decrees in India. So with this respect, I have mentioned the sections of CPC. So just go through them. It will be sufficient for the foreign decree topic. Now we have acts like Hindu Succession Act, Hindu Adoption Act, Hindu Guardianship Act. So for them also I have mentioned the important sections. So don't skip them in any case. Then we have got the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Act 2019. It is one of the smallest act. Hardly there are 6 sections, so just go through them entirely, right? Next is the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act 1986. So just go through sections 2 and 3, it will be sufficient. Last but not the least, which is UCC case laws. So just trace down the landmark cases. Next unit is Environment and Human Rights Law. So under environment, what you should do is just make a note of important conventions starting right from Ramsar Conventions to the Kigali Amendment. Then there comes UNEP, which is UN Environment Programme. So just try to note that what are its role. Third one is NAPCC. So what is NAPCC and what are its 8 missions? Next comes the NGT Act, right? So this is very important act given under the environment. So just start with its preamble, go through the definition portion, just try to also remember the subsections because that might come in the chronology based question. Then there comes the composition of the tribunal, right? And then just go through the schedules mentioned under the NGT Act because that defines the scope of NGT. Then there comes human rights. So under human rights, let's see that what are the important points. The first one is UNHRC. So just try to know that when this body was formed and what are its functions. Second topic is International Bill of Rights, and which is made up of UDHR, ICSCR, ICCPR and optional protocols. So just try to know the instruments which has been given before us, their purpose, and together with this you have to do the cursory readings of the important provisions given under these instruments, right? And I've also mentioned the important articles before you. You may go through them. Then the next one is the 7 core international human rights treaties, right? So before us we have got the 7 treaties, and together with this just try to know that when these treaties were formed, right? Just remember the year because that is being often asked in the NET exam. Last one is the Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. So under this, just know the importance of NHRC, like how it is being formed, what is the composition of NHRC. Next unit is IPR and cyber law. So under IPR, just go through the theories of IPR, like how many theories are there and how they are different from each other. Second important topic is copyright, right? So how many conventions are there with respect to the copyright? Then there comes Copyright Act. So know the meaning of copyright as it is being given under section 40 and just know the terms of copyright as well. Together with this, just go through the broadcasting and the performer's right also. Then just go through the provision of infringement and section 52, which is an exception to the infringement. Then we have the provisions with respect to the remedies. Also together with this, you can go through the important case laws, the landmark judgments specially given under the copyright. The third topic is patent. So for patent also you need to know that what are the important treaties, right? Then there comes the Patent Act. I've already mentioned important sections with respect to the Patent Act. It's very important to understand that what is patent, what are inventions and what are not inventions, what are patentable and which inventions are not eligible to be patented, right? So just go through these sections, you will get the idea. Then there was the amendment in year 2005. So just try to know that what were the effects of those amendment. Together with that, just know that how the patent gets infringed, what is the tenure of patent, and together with that, you can also go through the landmark judgments. And there are other IPRs also like trademarks, GI, biodiversity and traditional knowledge. So for them, just try to have the conceptual framework. Like if I talk about the trademark, just try to know that what is the purpose of trademark, why it needs to be protected, what is the tenure of its protection. Apart from that, just go through the grounds of refusal, right? And I have mentioned the sections before you, you may go through them. Same is with the GI, that what is the purpose of GI and what are the grounds of its prohibition. So just go through section 9 for this. For biodiversity, you also just go through the concept and on the convention of biological diversity. This will be sufficient for your IPR. Then under Unit 9, there is Information Technology Act. So under this very law, just try to know the definition of the important terms like certifying authority, cybersecurity, key pair, under which subsection private key or public key has been defined, and all these things are there. Apart from this, just try to know that what is digital signature, what is e-signature, what is electronic governance. E-contract, which is given under section 10A, is very much important. Apart from this, just try to know that what are the subscriber duties, what are the offences which is being given throughout from section 65 to 67C, then what are the adjudication, then what are the penalties with respect to the IT Act. Right, so just go through all these sections which I've mentioned before you, they are sufficient. Last unit is Comparative Public Law. Under this subject, you are supposed to do the comparative study between the Indian system and the system prevailing in supposedly US or UK, right? And if I talk about your syllabus, the topics given therein, they are important, right? And I have also mentioned before you. So the systems which you can see in the list, you are already aware about these systems and how they do work in our Indian system. And just to simplify your work, you can focus on the US and UK systems. You need not to focus on the systems of South Africa, Japan, or likewise countries. Apart from these, just go through the Lokpal and Lokayukt Act. Just to know the composition of the Lokpal, what is the tenure of Lokpal, what is the establishment or how Lokayukt has been establishment, what is the jurisdiction and powers of Lokpal, and just also go through section 59 of this very act. Lastly, there is RTI Act, and under this very act, just go through the important definitions like under which section information, competent authority, right to information is being given. Apart from that, just also go through section 8, right? Because Central Information Commission and State Information Commission, they are the important bodies. Lastly, just also have a go through over the schedules portion given under the RTI Act. Thank you for watching this video. Do like and share this video with your friends, and do subscribe JRF channel to get the further updates.